Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdau, I'm a video producer, Christian, and today I'm putting on my science cap, reading some science articles. I'd like to question them. We should always question these things to learn from them. A recent research article shows plants that show engineering principles, and that's a big deal. When things are showing that they're engineered and not involved, and that's where the huge arguments take place in science today. I'm Tim Linsdau. Like and comment on my video. Subscribe to my channel if you would. I'd really appreciate that to support it. Plants showing engineering principles. It comes from some research, a government-funded research. Now remember what government-funded means. I guess I question that. We need to be careful with government funds and how they're used, whether it really makes any sense. Hopefully that's somebody's looking to improve plant growth or food production. All those things are important so that we have enough food. A government-funded research was conducted by Zachary Lippman in Cold Spring Harbor Lab in New York. He identified redundancy in critical genetic control systems. Now, redundancy is an important engineering principle built into designs that enables something to maintain its function when being stressed. Now with plants, we could see that could be predation, weather, multiple things. Now, they go on to make the point that cells responsible for growth in the different parts of the plant, root, stems, leaves, flowers, begin as stem cells. Now you've probably heard of stem cells in human research, such as trying to use stem cells to repair such as the spinal cord, spinal injuries. That's a big deal if they can do that. And these cells are what they call differentiation cells. Best I understand, they can change into any other type of cell or reproduce themselves. That's pretty cool. But the proliferation must be highly regulated, though, of these cells. Otherwise, if they were just turned into anything, it would be a mess. And from what I would think, the plant would die if it wasn't in some kind of order of some kind. Now, Lippmann produced some remarkable examples in tomato plants, highlighting why control systems must tightly regulate stem cells by showing what happens when the system's function becomes disrupted through mutations. Now you may remember mutations aren't something that necessarily positive. One could hope that when something's stressed, the cells would mutate into something that would be positive for the plant, rather than something that would be negative. Much mutation process from what I've seen with humans is not positive. Something goes wrong, like cancer. Now, what he did discover is that he claims that there's a deeply conserved stem cell circuit, and it means a backup system. Provides redundancy for the plant by buffering the results. In other words, there's some kind of control going on with that word buffering. Now literally it's saving information. So if the stem cell circuit is damaged in some way. Now while all plants use the same core genetic circuit, the genetic backup systems can vary drastically from plant to plant. Now that would seem like a problem. One of his colleagues believed that describing the diversity of these backup systems was the most important discovery, because this led them to title their paper Evolution of Buffering in a Genetic Circuit Controlling Plant Stem Cell Proliferation. Okay, see if we can understand this. To quote, "We are surprised to see such big differences, but in retrospect it reveals the power of evolution in finding novel ways to protect critical developmental circuits." Does it? Does it show the power of evolution, or does it show engineering? The work did reveal impressive systems, but when they interpret it, does it show the power of evolution, or does it show engineering? The work did reveal impressive systems, but when they interpret it with evolution, is it imagination, or is it something they really saw? And I guess that's the question I'm asking. Did they really see something, or are they imagining something is controlling this? And that's where the big question comes. Are they imagining it, that evolution did this, or is there an engineering involved? How do they know buffering systems evolved? Because it would be different if it's different in all the plants. I don't know, that seems a little crazy, but they're saying it took deep time to develop these things, but it's saying that these core circuits that work within these this genetic circuit, if you will, somehow escaped radical mutational changes. Now that's where we get a contrast. The buffering systems in the same plants mutated wildly all around them. They chalk that feat up to the power of evolution. Trying to understand this. Some say that could be an explanation akin to magic. In other words, it's somehow they escaped radical changes that would have ruined the plant by the power of evolution. Or is it engineering to keep them from evolving into a mess? Now, some say this characteristic was previously documented with many similar cases, but there's an alternative way to interpret these experimental observations more precisely. Some say if it uses a framework that expects rapid and targeted responses, includes every system element, and does appeal to the mystical power of evolution. While others are trying to develop a theory of biological design as a more scientific approach to selectionism. The best I understand selectionism is that an animal group changing and evolving. One major assumption is that the biological functions are far more suitably explained by engineering principles. Well, that kind of takes us back to what we were seeing before. The way in which a stem cell control and genetic backup systems produce redundancy is evidence supporting that assumption of engineering. These control systems may also play a role in adaptive mechanisms, since functioning both to buffer stem cell balance, a state of balance, or what they call homeostasis, and provide developmental flexibility. Okay. Now, the scientists doing these research are saying that the adaptability of the plant, of the stem cells to produce the proper needed the properly needed cells for the plant to live and thrive without being a jumbled up mess and producing cells that are just like what cancer does. It produces a bad cell that kills the host. Now, to try to go on with this, I'm trying to read this objectively and then ask the questions. Is what we're seeing the power of evolution, or are we seeing design? Those are big questions. Innate control systems aren't only essential to all dynamic entities, they are a hallmark of sophisticated engineering. Especially when it comes to redundancy systems, the ability to change when stressed. I think we talked about that earlier. So there's myriads of phenomenally complex control and backup systems are evidence of the engineering in these plants. Now, I'm an amateur scientist, but this research is showing me engineering because it's in order. These stem cells, yes, they can become, well, that's what's very important, is it not? If these stem cells can become any other kind of cell, isn't something controlling how these cells form and what they form into without being like a cancer? That sounds like something that's been engineered to work. Something that senses stress, the right kind of stress, and then produces the right kind of reaction to it. Is that evolution or engineering? It's a major difference. So there you are. When I read these research articles, I try to understand and question. What are they saying? Especially if they use the word could or would or should. And science should be as exacting as you can make it. So don't be afraid to question scientists on their beliefs and understanding about what's happening. You as a citizen, especially in the United States, you have the privilege of voting for your representative who spend the money for research, and you want to make wise decisions. So question these. Not necessarily that we spend money on research, but question what the research outcome is. That's what I like to do. Isn't that fun? Isn't that more fun to take the time to do that? Question these things, learn about the world around you. It's interesting. It's fun. Makes you a better citizen, if you will. So there you go for today. That's the science questions of the day. Hope you've enjoyed that. I'm Tim Linsdau. Like and comment on my video. Subscribe to my channel if you would. I'd really appreciate that, to support it. And get out there in the world, look around, question, learn, enjoy, and especially make it a great day.